Hare Krishna, welcome everyone again for our Nectar of Devotion class. We'll start with our prayers. Mujnanatimirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamhyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त कांचना गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी नितिनामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, welcome everyone. So we'll continue our discussion from Nectar of Devotion, Shri Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. So we discussed yesterday the preface and the introduction of Nectar of Devotion, which is given by Srila Prabhupada, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And we saw that in preface, Prabhupada first gives the overview of the life of Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, how they came to Vrindavan on the orders of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then he describes Bhakti, Rasa, Amrit, and Sindhu. What are all these words mean? So there he describes the Bhakti means a sort of cultivation. Rasa, Prabhupada describes that there are two types of rasa, the bhautik rasa and the spiritual pleasure, the adhyatmik rasa. And he says that he described that bhautik rasa, material rasa, is having two qualities of bhoga, tyaga, and chapal sukha, very, very flickering. But on the contrary, bhakti rasa is eternal and there is no end to it, and there is no oscillations. It is a permanent rasa. And then Prabhupada described about this Amrita, how this Krishna consciousness, this bhakti is a eternal engagement. There is no loss in this path. Neha bhikramanasho asti. And then after this, in the introduction, Prabhupada gives three things. First, he describes the Mangalacharan prayers, which are given by Srila Rupa Goswami also. There he offers his prayers to his spiritual master Sanatan Goswami, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and all the devotees. And he prays for the protection of his Grantha. And then that is the Mangalacharan. Mangalacharan has three purposes. सही मंगलाचरण होए त्रिविध प्रकार वस्तु निर्देश आशीर्वाद नमस्कार. So to define the objective of this book, what is the objective of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu? To glorify Krishna as Akhil Rasamrit Murti. And we saw how this Akhil Rasamrit Murti is very suitably given to Krishna, how he is the source, he is the reservoir of all the rasas. And we saw one verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto when Krishna enters the arena of the wrestling match in Mathura. And then he describes the Vastu Nirdesh, Ashirvad, and Namaskar. He offers his obeisances and then he bestows some blessings. And then we were discussing about this definition of Uttama Bhakti, which is given by Srila Prabhupada, which is the this very, very prime statement that is called Paribhasha Sutra of this whole Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. So we'll spend a few minutes discussing this definition in detail, and then we'll start the first chapter. So we discussed how this bhakti, the word this uttama bhakti, the definition comes from this word. Sorry, I'll just go back. Yeah. So this is the definition of uttama bhakti: anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam anukulyena krishnanushilanam bhaktir uttama. So before discussing this, I'll just try to describe what should be the mood when we are studying this nectar of devotion. Generally, when the devotees, they study nectar of devotion, they study when they are entering for bhakti shastri course, and their main focus is how can we study point wise so that we can write in the exam. But in fact, Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu is a very deep, refined science which is given by Shri Rupa Goswami, and we discussed yesterday how Rupa Goswami spent 25 years before publishing this Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu in Vrindavan. So therefore we should try to go deep into the various details of this ocean of nectar of devotion. So we'll try to go into the details of some of the topics and just try to understand whatever you can, and it will be very, very beneficial for our own practice and to make our faith very, very strong in the process of Krishna consciousness. So this anyabhilashita, we were discussing this verse, anyabhilashita shunyam. So Prabhupada, he describes the definition of anyabhilashita as any desire except for the service of the Lord is called material desire. And jnana karmadi anavritam means philosophical speculation, refers to the sort of speculation which ultimately arrives at the conclusion of voidism or impersonalism. This conclusion is useless for Krishna conscious person. And we'll discuss in detail what does it mean. So first we'll discuss this anyabhilashita shunyam. So it literally means free from ulterior motives. And I discussed yesterday also that Srila Rupa Goswami has very particularly used the word anyabhilashita and not anyabhilasha. So what is the difference between anyabhilasha and anyabhilashita? So anya means others, any other. Abhilasha means desire, and abhilashita means motives. So what is the anyabhilashita shunyam? The devotional service should be devoid of any other motive. And what is motive? So motive is defined as a desire that is an integral part of one's nature. So when we are practicing bhakti, our primary motive should be to please Krishna, to serve Krishna. And therefore, this word anyabhilashita is very, very important, because I explained yesterday also, suppose a devotee who has dedicated his full energy in advancement of Krishna consciousness, suddenly he is facing a life-threatening situation. Some very serious disease comes, or he meets with an accident, or some of his relatives or some of his other devotees, they are getting some life-threatening problem. So should he pray for that? And that prayer included in pure devotional service? So Rupa Goswami answers by this word anyabhilashita. So anyabhilashita means the basic motive of a devotee is never changing. The motive of devotee is always to serve Krishna. And the other desires, desire for self-preservation, that is the desire which is coming out of circumstance. It is not an integral part of a devotee's nature. It is a superficial desire, fleeting desire. So therefore, it is not a motive, it is a desire. Motive should be very clear. Why we are doing bhakti? Only to please Krishna. And there are various instances in the scriptures, just like Draupadi, when she was tried to be disrobed, she tried so many ways to protect herself. That does not make her a impure devotee. She is a pure devotee. And we discussed this, the example of Uttara, when Ashwatthama, he shot this Brahmastra to kill Parikshit Maharaj, who was in the womb of Uttara. She went to Krishna and asked, "Oh Krishna, please help me. Please save my child." So these are non-integral desires and does not include one from pure devotional service. So that's why Rupa Goswami has particularly used this word Anya Bhilashita. And now we'll see what is this Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. Avrita means covered. Anavrita means uncovered. So that bhakti which is uncovered of Jnana, not covered by Jnana and Karma. So what is this Jnana and what is this Karma, that we'll discuss. So there are two types of Jnana which are described. One is Bhakti Anukula Jnana and Bhakti Pratikula Jnana. Anukul means favorable, Pratikul means unfavorable. So Srila Jiva Goswami, who has written a whole commentary on this Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, and his commentary is called Durgama Sangamani Tika. So in that he describes that, Gyan refers to three categories of Gyan: Atma Gyan, Ishwara Gyan, and Aikatva Gyan. So Atma Gyan means knowledge about the soul, ourself. Ishwara Gyan means knowledge about the Supreme Lord. And Aikatva Gyan means knowledge by which one develops a desire to merge with the Supreme, that is called Brahman Gyan. For a devotee, Atma Gyan and Ishwara Gyan are anukul for the practice of bhakti, but this Aikatva Gyan is unfavorable. It is not so much conducive. And why it is not so much conducive? Because of some reasons. For example, basically when one develops this Gyan of impersonal Brahman, the constitutionally he is denying that I am servant of God, and the application is the heart becomes very, very hard, and he cannot attain the pure devotional service. He cannot attain the bhakti platform. So therefore, constitutionally we are supposed to be servants of God, but in impersonal Brahman there is no service. What happens? A person, when he merges in the Supreme Brahman, there is just peace, nothing else. So therefore there is no service. Personal service is not there. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Therefore it is described, Salokya sarishti samipya sarupya aikatvam apyuta diyamanam na grihananti vina mat sevanam jana. So it is described that there are 5 types of liberation, which we'll discuss in chapter 1. Even if somebody is given, a devotee is given all these 5 types of liberation, but still he does not accept that if there is no service. And in application terms, this impersonal knowledge requires lots of analytical study, evaluation, and the heart may become very hard. For example, if the devotee is sick, some devotee is sick and he needs medicine, and we happen to see that devotee, and we go to him and tell him, "Oh Prabhu, you are not this body. Why are you desiring so many things? You are in Maya." So that is complete hard-heartedness. We have to have a soft heart towards Krishna, and we have to have a soft heart towards devotees, because the very purpose of devotional service is to make our heart soft. And by this practice of bhakti, our heart becomes soft. That is the definition of bhava. Shuddha sattva visheshatma prem suryamshu samya bhag ruchibis chittamasranya krit asau bhava uchyate. Ruchibhi chittamasranya. Masranya means the heart becomes very soft. That is called bhava level. So that is the whole process of bhakti, to make our heart soft. And this impersonal knowledge makes our heart hard. We cannot reciprocate any relationship, any feelings with devotees and with Krishna. And at the end, we will not be able to attain Supreme Lord, because impersonal Brahman means merging into Brahman. and that is the end of bhakti, but as devotees we recite these prayers every day. Mama janmani janmani ishwari, life after life I want to serve you, my Lord. Sometimes some neophyte, some devotees who come in the beginning days, they become fearful reciting this prayer, Janmani Janmani Shure. How come? I don't want to take birth again. In one of our bases, there was one cook. He wanted to go to West. So he would recite Mam Germany, Germany Shure. I want to go to Germany. So that is the problem with Aikatva Gyan. It makes the heart very, very hard and we cannot attain the highest destination. But in contrast to this Bhakti Gyan is very, very, this knowledge of Atma and knowledge of Ishvara, they are conducive to the process of Bhakti. Because in that we realize, we discussed in whole Bhagavad Gita, Krishna described to Arjuna, oh Arjuna, you're not this body, you are soul. And that is the constitutional position. Jiver Sarupa Hoye Krishner Nityadas. And then by the practice of this bhakti, one can attain the highest destination. And what is that destination? The destination is the devotee realizes the greatness and the sweetness of absolute truth. We discussed in 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita also. Jnanam te aham savigyanam. So Krishna is telling, I'll tell you about my greatness and sweetness also. So therefore, the sweetness of Krishna's pastimes, he has described throughout Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. And all these things should attract the heart of a devotee. Krishna Rayate Khela Sarvottama Naralila Naravapu Tahara Swarup Gopavesha Venukara Navakishora Natavara Naralila Hoy Anurup. Kaviraj Goswami says that of all the incarnations of Krishna, the pastime of incarnation of Krishna as a human is a most dear form. It is very, very sweet form because in human form we can relate to Krishna. So therefore, when Krishna appears in Vrindavan, he displays so many beautiful pastimes by which he attracts the heart of devotees. So therefore, the Aikatva Gyan and Ishvara Gyan, Atma Gyan and Ishvara Gyan is required. But this Aikatva Gyan, Aikatva means knowledge of impersonal Brahman, that is not required. And then we'll come to this karma. We discussed Jnana, now we'll discuss the karma. What is this karma? So it is very important to understand. Prabhupada writes, karma are sometimes understood to be ritualistic activities. There are many persons who are very much attached to the ritualistic activities described in the Vedas. But if one becomes attracted simply to the ritualistic activities without understanding Krishna, his activities are unfavorable. So therefore, as a devotee, somebody may think, but we have to do sometimes some ritualistic activities, just like Shraddha ceremony. And sometimes we refer to astrology also. So what are these ritualistic activities? Should we take shelter of that or not? So it is very important to understand, for a devotee, he can perform these ritualistic activities of Shraddha, but he should not put his faith in those activities. They are bona fide activities mentioned in the scriptures, but our devotional process should not be compromised. We should not keep our faith in those activities and neglect our devotional practices. So we should do this Shraddha ceremony or some other ritualistic activities so that other people will not create trouble in our lives. Oh, just see, he has become a devotee of Krishna. He has given up his worship of कुल देवता का पूजा छोड़ दिया है. कैसे हैं ये इस्कॉन वाले, ये सब हमारा धर्म भ्रष्ट कर रहे हैं. So therefore, devotee, he knows that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, but to create a peaceful atmosphere in the home and in the society, he performs all these rituals also, but he's not putting his faith in that. And when it comes to astrology, we may also have to take sometimes the reference of this astrological things, but these should not cover our devotional activity. It can serve some functional purpose, but it should not, devotee should not put more faith in the power of destiny than in the power of bhakti. That should be the main thing. Many times devotees, they go too much into astrology, that if I'm going to attend this program festival, but astrological chart is not saying, so I'll not go. No. So the power of destiny should not be given more preference. We should have more faith in the power of bhakti. So therefore, and sometimes it should be, it can be followed. It's like in Vivaha Yagya, astrological charts are matched. And even Srila Prabhupada, Harishari Prabhu, he describes that Srila Prabhupada would generally, he would make his schedule in such a way that he won't travel on Thursday. But if some preaching engagement came and it was important to attend that, then he would attend that program. So therefore, we have to do the needful. We don't have to just blindly depend on astrology, although this is also bona fide science. But we should not put our faith more in astrology. Our faith should be for the activities of Krishna consciousness. That is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. Anything else is extraneous. So that is the Jnana Karma Adi Anavritam. And Adi also has some meaning. Adi means whatever other things like as renunciation, yoga, etc. One should not put faith in them also. And then so these are the secondary characteristics which we discussed. So I'll just go back. This Jnana Anyabhilashita Shunyam and Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. So these two things make the bhakti pure, devoid of any other desire apart from service to Krishna, and devoid of jnana and karma. But what is actually bhakti? What are the primary characteristics of bhakti? That will be described in the second line. Anukulyena and Krishnanushilanam. So Prabhupada writes, Anukulya means first class devotional service is known by one's tendency to be fully engaged in Krishna consciousness, serving the Lord favorably. So this word favorably is very, very important. And then Prabhupada writes about Krishnanushilanam also. He says this devotional service is a sort of cultivation. The particular word used by Srila Rupa Goswami in this connection is Anushilan. Anushilan means cultivation by following the predecessor acharyas. So now we'll go into the detail of what is Anukulya. So there are two possible definitions of Anukulya. That which is pleasing to Krishna. Second, that which is done for pleasing Krishna. So now which one is right and why? That which is pleasing to Krishna or that which is done for pleasing Krishna? And of course, Anukulyena means that which is done for pleasing Krishna. Because pure devotional service is a service intended to please Krishna, not if it pleases Krishna accidentally or incidentally. For example, Krishna also has sometimes feelings of desire of fighting. So then there are demons who fight with Krishna and they please Krishna. But they are not doing devotional service because they did not have any intention to please Krishna. Krishna was pleased incidentally, just like another example, Kamsa. One aspect of bhakti is to always remember Krishna. Kamsa was such a person when he understood that Krishna is in the womb of Devaki. He became completely Krishna conscious. Very few of us can become as Krishna conscious as Kamsa was. Asina samvisham stishtham bhunjana paryatan mahim chintayano rishikeshan apashyat tanmayam jagat. So as he was sitting, eating food, looking in the mirror, roaming around, sleeping, everywhere here he was just seeing Krishna. Chintayano Rishikesham, always remembering the Supreme Lord Rishikesh. Apashyat tanmayam jagat. The whole world became full of Krishna. But can we say he was doing devotional service? No, because it was not favorable for Krishna. So therefore it should be done for pleasing Krishna. And then what is Anushilanam? So Anushilanam means it is a sort of cultivation, you know. So therefore Prabhupada writes that all our activities, you know, there is a word Anu in that. Anu means following the footsteps of predecessor acharyas. And Prabhupada writes in that all our activities may be divided into two classes: pravritti and nivritti. Pravritti means things which has to be done, and things which are to be avoided. So there he describes the pravritti, the positive actions. They can be done. They can be, you know, executed at the level of the body, mind, and the speech. Just like we can glorify Krishna, we can always remember Krishna, and we can serve Krishna with our body. So therefore Prabhupada describes about this pravritti and nivritti, and then he says that, you know, we can offer our activities with our bodily functions. All our activities should be performed in connection with the Guru Shishya Parampara. We should connect ourselves to a bona fide spiritual master, and then we can develop our faith very, very strongly. So that is what Prabhupada writes there. And then Prabhupada also describes that, you know, the cultivation of Krishna consciousness, it is not a material thing, because bhakti is not material, it is spiritual, and we are also spiritual beings. So devotional service is under the influence of the internal energy of the Lord. As we know, there are three types of energies: antaranga, bahiranga, and tatastha. And living entities, when they perform devotional service, they are under the internal potency of Krishna. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita also, that Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritim ashritaah. So devotees are under the internal potency of Krishna. So that is what Prabhupada writes. And then we should know that this pure devotional service definition, it is called the Paribhasha Sutra of whole Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. And we should know what is this Paribhasha Sutra. Paribhasha Sutra means that statement on which entire book is based. And if you see any other thing which is not in line with this definition, we can reject that statement. So that is called Paribhasha Sutra. So then Prabhupada describes, he quotes Rupa Goswami's another definition of pure devotional service. So there he quotes from Narad Pancharatra. So this is also very, very famous verse about pure devotional service. Sarvopadi vinirmuktam tatparatvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhaktiruchyate. And Prabhupada writes, one should be free from all material designations. All of us have so many designations, you know. One whole page can be written, you know, sometimes the whole iCard is filled with various, so many number of designations. Krishna is saying, if you want to practice bhakti, you have to give up all those designations. Our only designation should be Jivera Swarup Hoy Krishnera Nitya Das. And with that, we have to practice service unto Rishikesh. And then what other things we have to do? We have to purify ourselves. Tat paratvena nirmalam. Nirmal means to clean ourselves of all the contamination. And we should practice pure devotional service unto the Rishikesh. And then, you know, this is how this Anya Bhilashita Shunyam verse matches with this Sarvopadhi Vinurmuktam verse. You know, so this Anya Bhilashita Shunyam means no desires apart from Krishna's service. Similarly, it is Sarvopadhi Vinirmuktam. Then Jnana Karma Adi Anavritam means free from any other contamination. That corresponds to Nirmalam. It should be favorable to Krishna, Anukulyena. That corresponds to Tatparatvena. Krishnanushilanam. It should be done for Krishna's service, and that corresponds to Rishikesha Sevanam. And then Bhakti Ruchyate. So therefore, this is the definition of pure devotional service. And now we'll start the first chapter, which is entitled by Srila Prabhupada as Characteristics of Pure Devotional Service. So in this, Rupa Goswami describes the primary characteristics of pure devotional service, and there are 6 further characteristics of pure devotional service. So for the primary characteristic of devotional service, he quotes one verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, where Lord Kapila, this Kapila is not our Kapil Dev cricketer, he is the son of Mother Devahuti. So he is giving the definition of pure devotional service. And then he describes there are 5 types of liberation which the devotee does not accept. And then he describes these 6 more characteristics: Kleshagni, Shubhada, Moksha Laghutakrit, Sudurlabha, Sandrananda Visheshatma, and Sri Krishna Akarshini. So these words you will not find in the text Nectar of Devotion, because Srila Prabhupada has avoided any Sanskrit in this book, so that people who are very new in Krishna consciousness, they could relate to this. But as we have been practicing, most of us, we have been practicing in so many years, so now it is our responsibility to understand all these topics in detail. So now we'll go to the primary definition of pure devotional service. So I have quoted these verses, which is given in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu actual book, and then I have quoted some of the statements which Srila Prabhupada writes in Nectar of Devotion. So this primary characteristic of pure devotional service is ahetuki, avyavahita, and then there are salokya, sarishti, samukya, sarupya. These are the 5 types of liberation. So this verse says, Kapil Dev is saying, Diyamanam na grihananti, even if my devotee is given all these liberation, he does not accept it. And then Prabhupada writes, in the above statement of Kapila Deva from Srimad Bhagavatam, the actual position of pure devotee is described, and the primary characteristics of pure devotional service are also defined. So if you want to actually understand and come to the level of pure devotee, we should know what is pure devotion. So at least we should theoretically know, so that we can at least try to achieve that. If we don't know what is the ideal, then we forget about reaching and approaching that goal. So therefore, now we'll see how this verse corresponds to the definition of pure devotional service which we saw just now, Anyabhilashita Shunyam. So in this verse, I'll just go back again. In this verse, there is ahetuki and avyavahita. So ahetuki corresponds to Anyabhilashita Shunyam. Avyavahita corresponds to Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. And then there is a line Salokya, Sarishti, Samipya, Sarupya, and Aikatva. These are the 5 types of liberation. What are these 5 types of liberation? Salokya means by the practice of bhakti, somebody can get a chance to stay in the same planet where Krishna is staying, in Krishna Lok or Vaikuntha. Sarishti means this person, this devotee acquires all the opulences same as Krishna. That is even much more glorious. Samipya means he gets a chance to stay close to Krishna. Just like, there is a assistant of Prime Minister, secretary of Prime Minister. He is very close. And there are some people who are staying in the cabinet. They are not so close. So this Samipya is the most closest association of Krishna. Sarupya means having the same bodily features as Krishna or Vishnu. And Aikatva means merging in the impersonal Brahman, which we just discussed. So this verse says a devotee is not interested in any of these 5. Neither staying in the same planet as the Lord, neither having same opulences as the Lord, neither having same bodily features as the Lord, neither having closeness of the Lord, and forget about this impersonal Brahman that is not in picture only. If there is no service, devotee is only interested in service. That is the definition of bhakti. Bhakti means devotional service. It is not an idle meditation. That should be very, very clear. Bhakti means service. If there is no service, I do not want to get that thing, even if it is liberation. People, all the other Mayavadis and all these Brahmavadis, they are interested in liberation. We are not interested in liberation. We are interested in serving Krishna. And as a side effect, naturally we will get liberated. But our primary motive should not be to get liberated. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Mam janmani janmanishware bhavatad bhaktir hetuki toi. Oh my Lord, I want to serve you life after life. Vina mat sevanam jana. If there is no service. So that is called anukulya and krishnanushilanam. So that is the definition of pure devotional service, which Rupa Goswami describes. Then there are 6 characteristics of pure devotional service, which Srila Rupa Goswami writes. And this is a verse which is given by Srila Rupa Goswami. And we just discussed there are these 6 things. So now we'll elaborate on this. So first, we'll discuss about Kleshagni. What is this Kleshagni actually? So Klesha means distress. So by the process of bhakti, one becomes relieved from all the material distress. How does this happen? So that is described in this section of this first chapter, where Rupa Goswami says and Srila Prabhupada writes that the primary cause of distress in this world is ignorance, because we are not aware of our connection with Krishna. Just like a child who has forgotten who is his father and he is loitering the street, getting so much of the trouble, but because he's forgetful. Similarly, we are sons of Krishna, we are children of God. Pitamasya jagato mata dhata pitamaha, Krishna says. But we have forgotten that. Ignorance, the avidya, this covering of avidya is there on our consciousness. And because of that covering, what happens is the desires of sense enjoyment come. Oh, I want to control this world, I want to enjoy it separately. Based on that, we commit so many sinful activities, and that is called papa. And as we commit sinful activities, we suffer some reaction. That reaction, just like a water tank, there is a water which is stored and there is a pipeline. Somebody has started the sharing of the screen. Please stop that. So I'll have to check. Okay. So this is how it is described, that this papa, when we do some papa, then the reaction, yeah, I was discussing about this a water tank. If there is a water tank full of water and there is a pipeline which is coming from that tank and there is a water tap. So this whole water tank filled with water, this represents our storehouse of sinful reactions. And from that, there is something in the pipeline which is called aprarabdha. And that which is coming from the tap, that which is manifesting from the tap, that is called prarabdha. And when that comes out, then the living entity, we suffer. But there is one more thing happens. When we do any sinful activity, the desire to do that sinful activity becomes more powerful. That is called sinful disposition, that is called kutam. So now we'll go into the detail of this, how this devotional service relieves one from all the material distress. So this Rupa Goswami describes that this suffering is threefold. One is papa, one is bija, and one is avidya. So as we can see in this flow chart, because of the avidya, one gets material desires. Based on those material desires, he acts in a sinful way and then he suffers. And this papa is also of two types we discussed. There is aprarabdha and there is prarabdha. So then the glory of bhakti is, bhakti destroys this aprarabdha. And Prabhupada writes, For example, a man may have committed criminal acts but not yet been arrested for them. Now, as soon as he is detected, arrest is awaiting him. Similarly, for some of our sinful activities, we are awaiting distress in the future, and for others, we are mature, which are mature, we are suffering at present. So this is the example Prabhupada gives for prarabdha and aprarabdha. So for the description of this aprarabdha, how our storehouse of sinful reactions are destroyed, Rupa Goswami quotes one verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, which describes, just as, O my dear Uddhava, just as a blazing fire, Agni, destroys all the firewood and burns into ashes. Similarly, this mad vishaya bhakti, devotional service unto me, Uddhave namsi kritsnashaha, burns away all the sinful reactions. So that is how aprarabdha is destroyed. Now, Rupa Goswami describes how prarabdha is destroyed, and he gives he quotes one verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, and of course Prabhupada writes all this in the purport. So I'm just quoting the verses also because Prabhupada is not quoting the verses there. And Prabhupada writes there, much mature sinful reactions activities are exhibited if one is suffering from some chronic disease. Yeah, this is very interesting line Prabhupada writes there. If one is suffering from some chronic disease, if one is suffering from some legal implications, or if one is born in a low and degraded family, or if one is uneducated or very ugly. These are all the results of our sinful activity. This is how the sinful reactions are manifesting in our lives. And how this is destroyed? By the practice of bhakti. Yannamateya shravananu kirtanad yat prahavanadya shravanarda bhikkvachit swadopi sadya swavanaya kalpate kutapunaste bhagavannu darshanat. So it is described that this process of bhakti is so very powerful that even if a person is born in a family of dog eaters, he can also become purified just by yannam dheya shravan and kirtan, just by chanting the names of the Lord, hearing about Lord and remembering about Lord. One gets completely purified of whatever sins which are manifesting. He gets purified of all that. So then we'll discuss something. Rupa Goswami, he quotes one verse about this klesha. He says bija, klesha, papa, bija and avidya. Suffering is coming because of papa, bija and avidya. And then he quotes one verse from Padma Purana also, where it is described aprarabdha phalam papam kutam bijam phalonmukham kramena eva praliyate vishnu bhaktirratatmanam. So there it is described that this Vishnu Bhakti is so very powerful that in sequence, aprarabdha, papa, kuta and bija, everything is destroyed. So as you see, I have highlighted this bijam word in both the verses. So this bijam word is same, but the meanings of these two are different. So Rupa Goswami, he has used this word bija in the form of material desire. Everybody of us, we have some seed of desire. Because of that, we do some sinful activity. And because we do some sinful activity, then we get the result. That is the word bija used by Rupa Goswami. And then when Rupa Goswami is quoting one verse from Padma Puran, there also the word bija comes. So this bija means the bij of sinful reaction which is not yet manifested. So these two bija are different. So therefore, this is the flow cycle of how the whole process works. So this is a little bit technical, but we have to have the basic understanding that by the process of bhakti, we become free from kleshagni. And therefore, Prabhupada writes, as in the medical field, for precaution's sake, the doctor injects a vaccination to prevent the growing of contamination. The practical injection to stop all the fructification of the seeds of our sinful activities is simply engagement in Krishna consciousness. So by the practice of bhakti, we can become free from all our sinful reactions, all the distress will be gone. But we should not expect it very soon. We have to just depend on Krishna and keep serving Krishna. Our motive is to serve Krishna. That should be the goal. Motive should be anyabhilashita shunyam. That includes the desire of becoming free from sufferings. So sometimes in emergency situations, we may ask. When we are suffering, we may ask. But that should not be our primary motive. We ask for our health, good health, or some devotees good health, so that ultimately he can practice bhakti properly. But we cannot demand Krishna, oh Krishna, please purify me, I want to become pure. That is up to Krishna. We have to just serve Krishna, depend on him. So that is the first thing. And then Rupa Goswami and Srila Prabhupada, he describes more details about this kuta and bija also. So there, Srila Prabhupada, he writes that, this austerity, charity, and all these ritualistic ceremonies, they are the recommended process for becoming free from sinful activities. But all these sinful activities cannot remove all these activities of tapasya, then dan and yajna. They cannot remove the sinful desire. The desires are still there. By all the prayaschitta, we can be free from the sinful reactions. But we'll do the same mistake again. And Prabhupada gives the example of a person who is suffering from sexually transmitted disease. Because he's so much addicted to sex life, he gets infected, and then he goes to a doctor, he gets cured, but the desire is not gone. So again he goes, again he suffers. So similar thing Parikshit Maharaj asks to Shukdev Goswami, and Prabhupada also quotes, it is like an elephant bath. Elephant, he goes to the river, takes bath thoroughly, comes out, again puts dirt all over his body. So and then Parikshit Maharaj says, what is the use of such type of atonement? It is like Manye Kunjara Shauchvat. It is like an elephant bathing. It is of no use. So therefore, all this yajna, dana, tapa, all these things, they can purify us of sinful reactions, but they cannot destroy our sinful desire. The sinful desire can be only purified by the process of bhakti. Kechit kevalaya bhaktya vasudeva parayana agham dhunvanti kartsnena niharamya bhaskaraha. Just like, when there is a very cold winter season, whole covered with fog, everywhere fog is there. As soon as the sun rises, the fog completely gets dissipated. Similarly, when the sun of bhakti rises in the heart, all the sinful desires are completely destroyed. And Prabhupada quotes this story of Ajamil. Ajamil, although he was in his youth, but because he was not completely purified, just one impression, one impression was sufficient to destroy his whole life. So that's how Prabhupada writes, this sinful desire seed can be removed only by achieving Krishna consciousness. And how to practice that? Very simple. We don't have to do some other gymnastics. Just simple chanting of the holy names of this Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And that's how we'll be purified of the sinful desires. And somebody may say, but okay, but the ignorance is the root cause. From ignorance, everything begins. How avidya will be destroyed? So therefore, Rupa Goswami quotes one verse from Srimad Bhagavatam again, which describes that, this bhakti destroys avidya also. And Rupa Goswami gives an example, just like, in a forest fire. In a forest fire, there is a whole blazing forest fire. The four-legged animals, they can run. But the snakes and the animals which do not have legs, they cannot run fast. So this blazing fire kills all the snakes in the forest. So similarly, this avidya is like a snake which is devouring us. And this blazing fire of Krishna consciousness is so strong that the snakes of ignorance are very easily destroyed. And therefore Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita also, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. Whoever worships me with faith and devotion and love, I give them the intelligence by which they can come to me. तेषामेवानुकम्पार्थम् अहमज्ञानजं तमः नाशयामि आत्मभावस्तो ज्ञानदीपेन भास्वता. 10th chapter, 10th and 11th verse, Krishna is saying, I show mercy to them, ajnana jam tamaha. Because of the ignorance, there is a darkness in the heart. By the process of bhakti, the darkness gets dissipated. So that is the glory of devotional service. And therefore, Prabhupada also writes this, that this tight knot of ignorance is destroyed, cut by the practice of bhakti. Bhidyate hridaya granthi chidyante sarva samshaya. You know, if any of you have tried opening a knot, you know, it is so very difficult. And if it is tight, it is very tightly made. It is almost impossible. What to speak of there if there are multiple knots, one after another? It is impossible. So our conditionings, they are like multiple knots, and we cannot open those knots. Not possible. What we have to do is we have to just cut it. So the process of bhakti cuts the knot of ignorance which is there in the heart, and that's what Prabhupada is writing here also. Now we'll go to the second quality. What is the second quality of this pure devotional service? It is all auspicious. It is shubh. And Rupa Goswami describes there are four characteristics, four types of auspiciousness. This bhakti should attract everyone, benefit everyone, should produce good qualities, and bestows happiness. This is what we need in life. Anybody in this person, they need these four things: benefit, attract everyone. Everyone should be attracted by this principle of bhakti. It should produce good qualities. Otherwise, why I am coming to this place? As Prabhupada would say, just see, and he will quote this and we'll discuss. And then it should give happiness. Any process, I am spending time, I am giving my life's energy in this field, in this process of bhakti, it should give me happiness. And these are the four qualities of bhakti, Shuddha, pure devotional service. It benefits everyone, attracts everyone, produces good qualities, and bestows superior happiness. And then this Priyana means attracts everyone. Prabhupada writes, this Krishna consciousness movement means it is welfare activity for all the people of the world, and it can benefit the entire human race. Nobody is barred from getting advantage of this process. This is for everyone. And then to describe this Sarva Jagatam Anuraktata, how it attracts everyone, Prabhupada quotes an example of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he was dancing in Jharkhand forest. Even all the animals, lions and deers, they were dancing together. Everybody was attracted. So bhakti attracts everyone. And then Shadgunadi Pradatvam, how bhakti bestows good qualities. And this is a very, very famous verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati yakinchana sarvair gunes tatra samasate suraha haro bhaktasya kuto mahadguna manorathena sati dhavato vahi. So yasyasti bhakti, if somebody is performing akinchana bhakti, akinchan means pure. Whoever is performing pure devotional service, what will be the result? Sarvair gunes tatra samasate, all the good qualities of the devatas manifest in that person. So that is the glory of Krishna consciousness. So therefore Prabhupada writes, on the other hand, one is not Krishna conscious, he has no good qualities. He may be highly educated from academic point of view, but in the actual field of activities, he can be seen to be baser than animals. And therefore Prabhupada writes that, we have seen that in the colleges and modern universities, people are so very educated, but they are involved in all sorts of sinful activities. In contrary to this, Prabhupada writes, these are the practical proofs of how a Krishna conscious person becomes highly developed in good qualities. We experience that even a young boy in Krishna consciousness is unattached to cinemas, nightclubs, naked dance shows, restaurants, liquor shops, etc. He becomes completely freed. So that is how automatically devotional service produces good qualities. We don't have to even endeavor, and we have personally seen and experienced in our lives and in the lives of others how people get transformed after they come to this process of Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada personally he had shown how he transformed hippies who were breaking all the four regulative principles every day. He transformed them into pure devotees. That is the glory of pure devotional service. And then Rupa Goswami analyzes this sukha. What is the happiness which one gets in this process of Krishna consciousness? He says there are three types of happiness. First Prabhupada describes there are three types of happiness. First is a happiness from material enjoyment, happiness derived from Brahman, and happiness of bhakti. Prabhupada writes this happiness of bhakti is the eternal and it is the highest. And then Prabhupada describes about all these three types of enjoyment. So Prabhupada says, people in this world, they are so very enamored by the glamour of modern materialistic advancement. And they think I am better off being busy with my material comforts. But these people do not know that any moment they can be kicked out of their material situation. Anybody, anytime can die. But still, the desire for sense gratification does not go. So that is a very, very dangerous situation. In our temporary material life, we can take the best advantage of becoming situated in the highest platform of Krishna consciousness. But the problem is the modern education system, they are making us royal asses. That's what Prabhupada writes. Prabhupada quotes Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He says, Jad vidya jat mayar vaibhav tomar bhajane badha. मोह जन्मिया अनित्य संसारे जीवा के कोराए गाधा. So this Jada Vidya, modern education which we get, it is a Maya Vaibhav. It is display of the illusory energy. Tomar bhajane badha. And we have seen, the more people become educated, the more their ego increases, the more they become proud, and the more they cannot understand this process of Krishna consciousness. They think I know how things run. All these is bogus, sentimental, moha janmiya, and all these things attract one so much, binds one so much that one cannot even think of coming out of this. And people are walking day and night just like donkeys. And Prabhupada would very graphically describe donkey. Donkeys, they are called, in Sanskrit, the name of donkey is Vaishakhanandan. So donkey is a celebrated animal in the Bhagavatam. He is, choicest animal to give choicest galis to all the materialists. So this donkey is so very foolish. In the rainy season, where there is grass everywhere, he keeps on eating grass whole day, and by the evening he becomes very sad. You know why? He thinks, "Arey, I am eating whole day, but still there is nothing less. That means I have not eaten enough." So he feels very sad. But on the other hand, in the Vaishakh, that is the summer season, where there are few patches of grass which are growing, so he eats everything, and then he looks back and he sees, wow, I've eaten so much, and he's very happy. That is called Vaishakh Nandan, the animal who is happy in Vaishakh. So that is how the donkey is so very foolish, that the grass is available anywhere, everywhere, but still he'll work whole day for his master. At the end of the day, he'll get few straws of grass. And to enjoy happiness, enjoy sex life, he'll go to the she donkey, and she donkey kicks this donkey on the face. Prabhupada would say people in this world, they are working so hard. Bhagavatam also describes that this people, they are working throughout the day, and at night, nidrayaryate naktam yavavayena chavavayah divacharthe haya rajan kutumba bharanena va. So these people, throughout the day they are working, and throughout the night they are sleeping or enjoying, and in this way they are royally wasting their life. And all this material enjoyment, it keeps us bound in this consciousness of enjoyment. For a materialist, there is nothing beyond material enjoyment. And therefore, this all this material enjoyment also gives happiness. Higher than that is the happiness which one derives from mystic siddhis. All the Ashtanga yogis, they do all these, and Prabhupada quotes this, all these mystic siddhis, and he explains what are these mystic siddhis. Anima, Laghima. Anima means one can become smaller than the smallest. Laghima means bigger than the biggest. He can get whatever he want. He can control others' mind. He can create. He can do whatever. So these are very, very attractive. People become completely mesmerized. People start worshipping these yogis, mystic yogis, as God. That also distracts one. There is subtle enjoyment which one gets. And then Prabhupada writes, there is another type of enjoyment that is called enjoyment of liberation. That is called moksha laghuta krita. That is the third type, third quality of bhakti. That pure devotional service derides even the happiness of liberation. Because in liberation also there is very great amount of happiness. But the happiness of bhakti is much more than this happiness of liberation. And Prabhupada writes that what is that happiness? The happiness of Brahmanand which one gets. Brahmanand means merging in Brahman. That is 1 by 10,000. It cannot even compare to the millionth part fraction which one gets by the practice of bhakti. So therefore, a pure devotee does not aspire after any of these perfections, any of these material enjoyment, any of this Brahman, the happiness which one gets by Brahman liberation. He is only satisfied by the practice of pure devotional service. As this our Bilva Mangal Thakur, he was a blind saint and he could see Krishna. Krishna would come and he would listen to whatever songs he would compose. And this Bilva Thakur, he says that Bhaktistvai Sthiratara Bhagavan Yadi Syat Daivena na Phalati Divya Kishora Murti Mukti Swayam Mukulitanjali Sevyate Sman Dharmartha Kama Gataya Samaya Pratiksha. So he says, Bhakti Tvai Sthirtara. After I have become very steady in the process of devotional service of my Lord, I am relishing every second newer and newer ecstasies. And when I'm practicing and experiencing these ecstasies, this liberation, the happiness of liberation, it is like insignificant. In fact, Mukti Devi is standing in front of me with folded hands, ready to serve me. But I am not even interested in looking at that. So therefore, the process of bhakti is so very powerful that this can give the best of the happiness which is available, and it is eternal happiness. So therefore, Prabhupada writes that he gives the example. If somebody gives you 100 rupees, somebody gives you 1,000 rupees, and somebody gives you 1 crore rupees. So the happiness of getting 100 rupees and 1,000 rupees and lakh rupees are included in that 1 crore rupees. Similarly, one may get little happiness in material enjoyment, little happiness in mystic powers, little happiness in liberation also. But the bhakti happiness is so great that all these other types of happiness becomes insignificant. As Bhagavad Gita also says, 6th chapter, Yam labdva cha param labham manyante na adhikam tataha. If one attains the mercy of Supreme Personality of Godhead, all the other types of happiness becomes insignificant. So that's how this process of bhakti is so very powerful, so very wonderful, that devotee is ready to do anything for Krishna, and he does not even consider his own discomfort. As we hear the story of Madhavendra Puri. Madhavendra Puri was told by Krishna, he was in Vrindavan, he was told, Gopalji came in the dream of Madhavendra Puri and he said, Oh Madhavendra Puri, you go to Remuna, you go to Jagannath Puri, you go to this Malaya Kshetra, you bring Chandan for me. And Madhavendra Puri did so much of tapasya to go from Vrindavan to Jagannath Puri to get this Malaya Chandan. And it is described. Bahu Prashrama Kare Chandan Remuna Anila Ananda Badila Mane Dukkhana Gonila Bahu Parishram Kari Chandan Remuna Anila. So he did lots of tapasya to bring that Chandan to Remuna from Jagannath Puri. But he was not feeling distressed. अरे क्यों सेवा दिया मेरे को, इतने सारे बाकी डिवोटी थे, उनके सपने में आके सेवा देते, मुझे ही क्यों सेवा दिया. I was happy doing deity worship in Vrindavan. I had to leave all that and come to Jagannath Puri, such a long distance walking. There was no flights or trains available. He walked all the way in the summer season. But the happiness of bhakti is so great that all these things have become insignificant. Tomar sevaya dukkha hoye jata seyo to parama sukha seva sukha dukkha parama sampada nashaye avidya dukkha. Whatever distress I am experiencing in your service, O my Lord, that is my greatest treasure. Because by serving you, my avidya is getting destroyed, and that is what we need, you know. And then fourth quality of this devotional service, it is very, very rare. It is not available by for everyone. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has described again and again. Manushyanam sahasreshu, out of thousands of men, few start practice of bhakti. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate. After many, many births, a jnani attains me. So, Rupa Goswami describes, why it is difficult, why it is rare, because of two reasons. First, because a practitioner is not doing enough tapasya, enough struggle. He's not putting his whole heart. He's not giving his full in the service of Krishna. And if we are not giving our full in Krishna's service, we will not attain bhakti. It is not so easy because we have embarked on a very, very difficult path. We say it is easy. Of course, the process is easy, but what we want to attain by the process is not so insignificant. It is a greatest achievement which a person can have in this whole creation. Therefore, Bhagavatam describes we should endeavor for that which is not available in the 14 planetary systems. Tasyeva heto prayateta kovido na labhyate yad bhramatam uparyadaha. We should endeavor for that which is not available in the 14 planetary systems, and that is the devotional service to the Supreme Lord. But if we want to attain that devotional service, we have to give our best. And Rupa Goswami quotes from Bhagavatam the story of Narad Muni. Narad Muni, he was giving his best. Tatranvaham Krishna katha pragayatam anugrahena shrinavan manohara ताश्रद्धया मे नुपदं विष्णुवतः प्रिया श्रवस्यंग mama bhavat ruchi. So Narad Muni is saying, I was Vishnuvata, I was very, very attentively listening to the Krishna Katha which these devotees were telling. That should be our mood. We should be very, very attentive, very, very eager, putting our full heart. Then we will attain Krishna. That's why it is rare, And his description of Shraddhaya Nityam Grinatascha Swacheshtitam. Swacheshtitam means we have to put our whole endeavor. Very serious endeavor we have to put, And there Prabhupada writes, this bhakti is very rare, but it can be attained only by the mercy of a devotee of the Lord. Guru Krishna Kripaye Paye Bhakti Lata Bij. And then Prabhupada quotes this verse from 7th canto of Bhagavatam, where it is described, Prahlad Maharaj is telling to Hiranyakashipu, oh my father, if you want to make your life successful, just bathe yourself with the dust of the devotee of Lord Krishna. Otherwise, there is no hope for you. And why second? What is the second reason this bhakti is rare? Because when Krishna gives his pure devotional service, he becomes purchased by his devotee. Krishna becomes controlled by his devotees. Therefore, he is very, very careful whom to give pure devotional service. And this is the verse which Rupa Goswami quotes. that this all these Pandavas, they were so very pure devotees that Supreme Personality of Godhead, he was becoming their servant, he was becoming their chariot driver, he was becoming their messenger, he was becoming everything for them. सारथ्य पार्षद सेवन सख्य दौत्य वीरासनानुगमनस्तवन प्रणामान स्निग्धेषु पाण्डुषु जगत् प्रणतिं च विष्णो भक्तिं करोति नृपतिश्चरणारविन्दे. So first canto describes, the Supreme Lord, he was becoming Sarathi. He was the constant companion. He was the messenger. He was the friend. He was protecting Pandavas. Why, Snigdheshu. They were very affectionate. They were in complete devotional service. They were pure devotees. Therefore, Krishna was controlled by them. Krishna becomes controlled by his devotees. Therefore, Krishna does not give bhakti so easily. कृष्ण यदि छुटे भक्ते भुक्ति मुक्ति दिया कबू कृष्ण प्रेम ना दे राखे न लुकाइया. If you want Krishna, if you ask Krishna, oh Krishna, please give me sense gratification, Krishna will take, okay, take this. You want sense gratification, your happiness of this world, take it. You want liberation, take it. But bhakti, okay, wait, I'll test your intentions. Kabhu Krishna prem na den. He does not give bhakti so very easily. But somebody may think, अरे इतना मुश्किल है तो हमको मिलेगा कि नहीं, हमारा तो कुछ भी औकात नहीं है प्रभु जी. We are not so serious also. We are somehow struggling. Somehow we are chanting 16 rounds. Is there hope for us? Our hope is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is one step ahead. He is not waiting for the devotees to come close. He is going everywhere and giving that Krishna prem to everyone. आपनी करिया स्वादने शिखाइला भक्त गणे प्रेम चिंता मणि प्रभु धनी नहीं जाने स्थान स्थान यारे तारे कोइलदान महाप्रभु दाता शिरोमणि. So therefore Mahaprabhu is Data Shiromani, is himself tasting and is distributing the love of God to everyone. So that is our hope. So therefore Prabhupada writes, the purport of this verse is that Lord easily offers liberation, but he rarely agrees to offer a soul devotional service because he's purchased. And then the fifth quality is the devotee experiences unlimited bliss. And there he describes that if Brahmanand is multiplied by 1 trillion fold, it cannot compare even to the atomic fraction of the happiness which is derived from the bhakti rasa. And the last is Shri Krishna Akarshini. This devotional service attracts Krishna because nothing else can attract Krishna. Krishna is full in everything. Only bhakti can attract him. And Prabhupada describes, and Srila Rupa Goswami describes about Radharani, how by process of bhakti Radharani attracts even Krishna. She is Madan Mohan Mohini. And then he again quotes one verse from Srimad Bhagavatam describing the glories of Pandavas by which they could attract Krishna. So we'll stop here. Thank you very much. This is the end of the first chapter. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu ki jai. If anybody has any questions, they can put on the chat. Okay, we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.